Hi everyone, my name is Tyler and I'm the founder of YourMark Athletics. I've been putting off making this video for quite some time just because I didn't want to bring myself too much into the frame. I didn't want the spotlight to be on me because I've always wanted to share other people's stories and provide other people with the platform to show the world how they make their mark. I've realized, however, that in order to understand everything that you need to know about the brand YourMark, you have to get an idea of the person who created it. So this is my story. I'm just a regular guy, born and raised in Strongsville, Ohio. I'm a first-generation Romanian who moved to Florida at the age of 14. Growing up, I was a very shy individual. I say I'm naturally introverted, but if you met me today, that might surprise you. I grew up playing sports, and I've always considered myself a bit of an athlete. For the longest time, my dream was to become a professional soccer player. So much so that it became ingrained in my identity all the way up until the end of high school and even a little bit into college. Let me tell you a secret. I ended up not going pro. After that, I went through a long period of just feeling lost, feeling like I've been out of place. I went to college while simultaneously working at a sandwich shop. And during this time is when I began to live my life more on autopilot. So what does that mean, autopilot? I was letting other people make decisions for me. I was letting life happen to me. I didn't really have any goals or dreams or aspirations because my whole concept, my whole identity was to become a professional footballer. I was never really into school either. I was mostly focused on sports and just in general, other hobbies. During this time is when I had no passion, no direction, and honestly, no plan. Much of my late teens and early 20s consisted of spending money I didn't have on expensive things that I didn't need, staying out late and partying, and playing excessive amounts of video games. I'm talking like I could spend 10 to 13 hours a day sitting in front of my PlayStation. I won't say it was a tough time, and I don't regret any of it because it made me into the person that I am today. And at the time, I would have considered this a lot of fun. This was how I enjoyed my life. However, it did set me back. Even with the setback though, I learned from it, I've grown, I've figured out what my priorities are, what I enjoy doing, and what the true meaning of life is in this process. And it was around this time, right after high school, a little bit into my sophomore year of college, when I really started to break out of my shell and become a little bit more of a social person. So see, not so bad. At the beginning of 2020, I got my first real job as a banker. Now, this was groundbreaking news for me. I was super excited. This was my first big boy job, and it provided me with a lot more income that I could spend. On top of just making more money, I thought it was the coolest thing that I'd be able to dress up nice in suits and in a tie and look professional and that sort of thing. I was super excited. Big boy job, more money, nice suit every day. I thought I was really moving up in the world. And with that, not too long after, I decided to move out on my own and get my own apartment. This was both a huge mistake and a blessing in disguise. For those of you who don't know, and to add a little bit of context to this, right around that time is about when COVID started to hit. And here in Florida, people began to flock, working from home and the ability to work from home. A lot of people moved from up north down to Florida, which made the housing market skyrocket. Rent, buying a home, all of which became very, very difficult for someone making 40 grand a year and living paycheck to paycheck. I quickly, at this time, began to rack up a substantial amount of debt, trying to pay for a car that I couldn't afford, trying to pay for rent that I also couldn't afford on top of groceries and just daily things that I needed to survive. And I realized very quickly this was not a sustainable lifestyle for me. So I had to make a change. It was around this time when the idea of starting a business began to go through my mind. I had seen all these wealthy people come into the bank and noticed a common trend. All of them had created something of their own business. I thought to myself, why can't I do that? That's when the magic started to happen. I sat there day after day after day thinking, what can I do? What am I passionate about? What can I bring to the table? And what type of business can I start up for my own? Started with a blank canvas and just kind of throwing things at the wall and seeing what fit, what worked, what I liked, what stuck. As time went on, I began to narrow my focus on two things. What do I have experience in? And what can I do to make a genuine impact, a life-changing impact in people's lives? That's when it hit me, and the early signs of YourMark and the idea of YourMark began to sprout. At the time, I didn't know it, but being put in that situation of struggle and hardship, unhappy with my current circumstances, barely able to afford to live, thinking that there has to be more to life than work all day, every day, would lead to the creation of YourMark. So, what is YourMark?